All the major news stories made simple and easy for your listening pleasure. We'll break it down for you in keywords. For the segment, we're joined by Adam. Good morning.
Hello, Lena.
As you rub your eyes.
I know. Sorry, it's just something just...
In your eye?
Yeah.
Something is in your eye.
Hence the rubbing of it, yes.
I don't recommend that.
I know. It was
right?
a bit itchy, so yeah, I couldn't resist.
And right before you go on a live show, what would you have done if this were TV?
I would have probably just
blink through it?
Yeah, just blink through it. Yeah, fought through. I've done that before, actually.
On a live show? Because I've done it too. And ours was pre-recorded, but I couldn't just be the one to, end up making the mistakes. I was frantically blinking and they said, okay, that's not going to work.
Yeah, but luckily my time on screen was a bit short. So I had a little time to fight through it, and then I was able to rub it off.
Just wanted to share a little anecdote about the beauties of live shows, folks. All right, time for us to turn our attention to keyword news as we clarify some of these major headlines for you this morning. Let's start out with the pandemic situation at home. This is our first keyword of the day.
Post-Chuseok surge.
Okay, so this was the fear anyhow, right? The Chuseok holiday has come to an end and health authorities are on alert for a potential spike in cases, especially silent transmissions. What's the latest?
Yeah, health officials are urging people to get preemptive COVID-19 tests after the extended holiday to prevent further infections, and there are more testing centres available for people to do this. They say people should get tested upon even the slightest suspicion of infection. So if you even think you have this tiny inkling that you do have COVID-19, or it could be a flu symptom for that, but still get tested, right? Because it is safer to get tested and be in the know. Now, cases have been concentrated in the capital area recently, but of course there are concerns of another nationwide spread as more people travelled across the nation for the holiday. Now, the KDCA is also warning of more silent transmissions, as you mentioned, by people who have been infected with the virus but have not yet shown symptoms, maybe after the Chuseok holiday as well. So a lot of people, that's why the authorities are encouraging testing even on the slightest onset of symptoms. Now, the number of locally transmitted cases reached just under 1,800 over the past week. That's up 4.3% from a week earlier. 9 out of 10 patients have not yet received their vaccines or are partially inoculated, with those in their 20s and 30s showing a higher ratio than other age groups. Now, the reproduction rate of the virus, which refers to the number of people a single patient can infect, was 1.03 over the last 7 days. That's moving upward from 1.01 the previous week. So this reproduction rate, the number of daily infections is also on the rise. And of course, we have this Chuseok holiday as well.
And you pair it with, let's say, people who are not inoculated, who are moving around a lot. I mean, that's why the concerns remain.
Exactly. And the country's daily caseload for the past 24 hours is expected to reach 1,800. We'll have to wait and see what the announcement is later today. The special distancing measures for the holiday, that was including the family gatherings of 8 people, that will also end tomorrow. So it's back to 6 if half of them have been vaccinated, back to the level 4 rules. And of course, the slight easing of the measures could contribute potentially to another surge nationwide as well, because more people have gathered.
The thing is, they're testing the waters, right? I mean, they had to alleviate how tense the situation was, I think. I mean, this was another big family holiday, but it's a really delicate tug-of-war we go back and forth, right? And it will probably continue to be this way. In the meantime,
that's right.
Face masks and testing.
Yes.
And get your vaccines.
Yes.
On to our second keyword of the day.
Vaccinating foreigners.
So health authorities are still trying to get more foreigners to get vaccinated, especially illegal immigrants. Those, I think, with the national health insurance are much more inclined to get them quickly. Now, they're stepping up efforts to reach more of these foreigners with, of course, promise no unwanted consequences, like maybe deter the fear of deportation. Run us through the plan.
Yeah, so the government is setting up temporary vaccination centres for foreigners in areas where there are a large concentration concentration of them to increase inoculations for the group. Now, the government is going to provide vaccinations by going to them in person as well, if there's not as much of a cluster of them. So if the logistics work, then the authorities, the people who vaccinate the people, will go to them in person. Now, the move comes amid more vaccine hesitancy, as you say, among the foreign population, especially these illegal immigrants who do fear deportation and other repercussions if they get caught.
Right.
Now, the government has assured, as you said, that they will face no penalties, but that doesn't seem to be putting them at any ease, unfortunately. And as of the end of last month, there are still more than 42% of over 390,000 illegal immigrants who are yet to be vaccinated. They get this kind of temporary number, this waiting number, but 42% are yet to get that number for the vaccinations. Now, these people are also concerned that they may not be able to get treatment if they suffer side effects because they don't have health insurance. They're not registered with the National Health Insurance. Now, to alleviate those concerns, the government will shoulder the cost of treatment, it says, if the illness is found to be related to the vaccine. So if they find any causal relation or causal link to the vaccine, then they will cover the cost of treatment.
But if you're not vaccinated, then, well, there are no means of covering any expenses.
Yeah, but I guess these moves will, of course, bring a lot of backlash from, conservative groups who say, why are Koreans spending taxpayers' money on illegal immigrants, and that whole argument again. And
on the opposite of the spectrum, they will say it is the interest of the health of the citizens, too, that may be in conjunction or maybe working amongst these foreigners, too.
Yeah, that's
the back and forth.
That kind of psychological burden has also played a part with this hesitancy as well. I mean, because they do know that there are a lot of critics out there who are kind of targeting them, and so they feel they don't want to be victimized by it. And so, this has been an ongoing issue ever since this vaccination of illegal immigrants have come out. So it's not going to be any different this time round, I expect.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that way. Turning to some economic news today.
Bank loans.
A little delay for some drama. It certainly requires that. The amount of bank loans that have been handed out continues to rise, fueling concerns over snowballing, of course, household debt. And what happens if interest rates are hiked? What's the latest?
That's right. Financial regulators have been trying to get the rate of increase of commercial bank loans to 5 to 6% this year, but that figure has already nearly been reached with just 3 months left to go until the end of 2021. So that amount, of course, there is a lot of room for that number to increase even more. Now, the amount of loans given out by 5 major commercial banks so far this year has risen by nearly 4.7% on year. So it is reaching that 5 to 6% kind of threshold that the government wants. Now, the government has been trying to tighten rules on home-backed loans in a bid to slow the growth of household debt. This has been going on for years. But with soaring house prices and rental prices, the so-called chunse prices as well, more people are taking out home-backed loans. And banks, for its part, are trying to get some of these loan products under control by either stopping some of them or pushing up the interest rates significantly on short-term loans, especially to control the rise, because of course short-term loans are the ones that people usually take out for immediate spending on something, like a car or
a home or a down payment in this case. And then
like that,
I guess the investor would bank on the fact that home prices would skyrocket so they can pay them back. It's gap investments, as we call it. But anyhow, is it too late, these interferences? I think that is a growing criticism as well.
It is. I mean, of course, this issue, again, is a very long-standing one. It's been going on for years. Going into
next year's most important election, it will be a heated debate.
Yeah, a lot of support and opposition for it. It's all part of this. Ever since the Moon Jae-in campaign started, the Moon administration has been under a lot of fire, especially from the conservative groups, about about this kind of tightening of these bank loans
Right.
and the house market, real estate market policies, and it's a bit of a mess and a bit confusing, and a lot of stuff going on in it.
Just a sheer number of, I think, changes in policies also confused the market and consumers and buyers too. It was supposed to alleviate the situation, not aggravate it, but it was definitely the latter. We don't have enough time on the clock to do it, but leading up to election, I think one of these days we would like to do a more comprehensive special on it.
Exactly, and that's why this issue is also a lot of a topic for debate amongst the presidential contenders as well. So it's interesting to hear what they have to say.
All right, on to our fourth keyword of the day.
Job seekers.
Looking at the job market now in the country, there has been an increase in the number of people preparing for employment. Some job fairs are back online. Have you seen the metaverse versions of it?
I have.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, it is certainly different. We're living in different times at the moment, so whatever works, I guess.
Let's look at some of these numbers.
Yeah, so according to data from statistics portal COSIS, there were 874,000 job seekers last month. That is a 6.4% increase on year. That is the highest number, actually, since the relevant data was compiled in 2003. There were also more men preparing for employment than their female counterparts, with men taking up some 56% of the portion. Job seekers in their 30s rose by a staggering 17% on year. And those in their 20s, though, still took up the largest portion, but the increase was only about 1% from last year. Now, those in their 60s actually increased fourfold, but it still took the smallest portion. So it just goes to show that a lot of elderly people
they can't retire.
They can't retire. They're still looking for work. Whether that is fortunate or unfortunate remains to be, depends on the perspective. But
I think it is a double-edged sword, don't you think? Because, I mean, there are more studies indicating that we live longer and healthier lives. So maybe we should be in the workforce longer if we desire it. Now, if we're forced into the workforce
that
because
is what I was going to say.
we have mounting bills to pay into our 60s and 70s, now that's a different conversation, is it not?
Yeah, that is an issue. I mean, some people in this age group say they are lucky to work and they are grateful to be in work, which is, of course, brilliant. But a lot of them are saying that they can't live off their pensions, and some don't have pensions at all. So
and that system's actually failing. So I think that's a bigger concern, especially in an age society.
Right. So it is. There are both sides to the story here. Now, for those who are wondering what this job seeker definition is, it is basically this data is of those studying for employment exams or attending academies. You see a lot of these students working, studying in these places called Koshi ones.
These
a lot of people
small
may have
library
heard.
spaces.
Rooms the size of the stretch of your arms.
Exactly.
I think it is.
Just to focus on your studies.
Just to focus on your studies. And a lot of people in that situation is increasing. That is what the data is showing here.
All right. Moving on to our fifth keyword of the day.
Fukushima concerns.
So there are more concerns stemming from the crippled Fukushima nuclear power plant. Are we talking about the wastewater this morning? What's the problem this time?
This time it is a problem with the Advanced Liquid Processing System, or ALPS as it's being called. Filters in the system have been damaged, according to local Japanese media reports. That system is used to treat contaminated water, so that is where the concerns are stemming from. Now, Tokyo Electric Power Company, the operator of the plant, has discovered 24 damaged filters so far, and more damages are being discovered. So day by day, as they continue their investigations, just more problems are arising. But TEPCO says there is no danger to the outside world because the contamination is being contained within the plant itself. They also say that the damage will not affect the performance of the ALPS system, so there is no need for concern. But despite them saying that, concerns are remaining because such discoveries have been made for the past couple of years, but the firm has not been revealing the cause of such damages and contamination. They've been under fire for not being transparent enough in their investigations. They're only just pretty much just saying the results of their findings and not elaborating.
Pinpointing the cause or why the filter failed.
Right, or any solutions for that matter as well. So that is, of course, this is an ongoing issue that has long been under debate.
All right, on to our last keyword of the day.
China's climate commitment.
So Chinese President Xi Jinping has announced a major new climate commitment at the UN General Assembly. What did he pledge?
Yes, Xi said China will no longer build new coal-fired power plants abroad. He provided no details, but depending on how the policy is implemented, the move could significantly limit the financing of coal plants in the developing world. So that means it could shutter about 47 planned power plants in 20 developing countries. Now, Xi did note that instead of building coal plants overseas, Beijing will support developing countries in the transition to green and low-carbon energy as part of the global effort to tackle climate change. So whether that means that these planned power plants will be scrapped altogether or whether they will be more economically eco-friendly, not economically eco-friendly ones remains to be seen. He also reiterated his pledge that Beijing will seek to peak carbon dioxide emissions by 2030 and eventually achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. That announcement at the General Assembly followed similar moves by South Korea, in fact, earlier this year. So it seems to be everyone kind of forming in line with this whole climate. It was a very surprise announcement as well by Xi Jinping.
I think coming from Chinese President Xi Jinping, consider how dependent they are, right? On these, factories and so on forth. But however, it seems that is what the demand is from the global community.
And this announcement actually came shortly after Joe Biden's announcement on climate change. So whether there was kind of competition there on who can be more
I was going to say, is it a rare moment where we agree?
Whether it's an agreement, that would be best, or whether it's a kind of, no, I'm going to beat you in the climate change race, remains to be seen.
Hey, if that benefits the rest of the global community, maybe that competition is not such a bad thing.
If it's a win-win for everyone, why not?
We'll leave it there for today. Thanks, Adam. I'll see you tomorrow.
You're welcome. See you tomorrow.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.